The BYD Sealion 7 is here, and it follows the same aquatic naming theme as its cousins and joins the most popular category as a mid-size SUV. Paired with its friendly size are its fast charging capabilities and sweet price tag. And in this review, we're looking at whether or not that makes for a winning combo, so stay watching. The Sealion 7 is available in 2 grades, and we're testing out the flagship performance grade for this review. Even though it sits $9,000 more expensive than its base grade sibling, it still comes in as the most affordable option when you compare it to its main rivals, the Cupra Tavascan VZ and the Tesla Model Y Performance. The performance grade is well equipped and includes leather upholstery, heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear outboard seats, as well as a heated steering wheel. There's also a panoramic sunroof, wireless phone mirroring and sat-nav, but the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you want more info. Even though it's named after a sea lion, it doesn't resemble the blubbery cuteness of the creature itself. However, its sleek, dynamic styling and performance does call forth the creature's water prowess. This prowess is hinted at by the 20-inch alloys that are fitted with Michelin tires and red brake calipers. There's a Porsche-like design going on with the wide, swoopy front and wide LED headlights, and basically this is quite an attractive SUV on the road. The performance grade has a well-appointed cabin with all of the mod cons, although access to most of its features is via the 15.6-inch multimedia display, which swivels between portrait and landscape mode. I would have preferred a few extra buttons in here, I'm just a buttons girl, but there are some other cool elements like the panoramic sunroof and lever door handles. The highlight is definitely the quilted leather upholstery because it feels so supple underhand. The swoopy design is carried forward in the design of the dashboard and side door panels. There are a few simplistic notes like the plain center console, lack of buttons, and the minimalist sun visors, but otherwise it's quite a pleasant cabin. The front row is easy to access with wide door apertures, and the front electric seats are super comfortable. There's lots of adjustments available with the lumbar and under thigh support, plus those extra features just make it a very easy road tripper. Individual storage is on par with its rivals, and you get a glove box, large middle console and shelf underneath the center console. There's also 2 dedicated phone cradles, although only 1 wireless charging pad, and you also get 2 cup holders, and I like that the floor of the cup holders can be adjusted if you have a taller bottle to accommodate. If you want to charge your device, you've got plenty of options. You've got a single USB-A and C port in each row, as well as a 12-volt socket up front. You do get vehicle to load charging capabilities in this car, but no domestic plug port inside. So you have to use an adapter on the Type 2 charging port outside if you want to charge a larger appliance. Most of your features like the seat controls and climate control are accessed via the large multimedia display. Like I mentioned, I do prefer a few extra buttons just because it means less time with your eyes off the road, but the touchscreen is quite responsive. The only thing I think needs major work is the voice assistant, as it's hard to get it to actually understand what you want. This system has lots of customizations available, and it has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I found it pretty easy to connect to the wireless Apple CarPlay, and I maintained a good connection this week. Although when you're on a phone call and you want to hang up, this steering wheel button doesn't actually end the call. It'll either put your caller on hold, or it'll put it on hold and then dial the very next call on your call list, which I found just needs a little bit of work personally. The rear row is cavernous with its leg and headroom, and it's quite a wide seat. The seat backs recline 2 positions, and the seats themselves are almost as comfortable as the front, with thick padding and the extra heat functions that I mentioned earlier. This row has ISOFIX child seat mounts and 3 top tethers, and the seat's wide enough to be able to accommodate 3 child seats side by side, which will delight families. It's also really good that the floor is flat because it means more leg comfort for middle seaters. For a flagship grade, I would have expected just a couple of extra amenities like climate control back here, but you do get directional air vents and those USB ports that I mentioned, as well as reading lights and the usual drink holders. I also really like that on the back of each front seat, you get 2 device pockets and a map pocket. The boot has a good capacity at 500 litres, and there's also a 58 litre front storage area. This has been plenty big enough for my grocery haul and road trip this week, which is good. You get underfloor storage compartments which will handle cables as well as the tire repair kit. The molded boot liner adds $148, and it's really handy if you have wet weather gear, but if you have to access the underfloor storage, it is a little bit awkward to maneuver around it. But it does have a power tailgate, which I always find is a handy feature. The Performance is all-wheel drive and is fully electric with dual electric motors, one located at each end of the car. Together they produce up to 390 kilowatts of power and 690 newton-meters of torque. That gives this grade a 0 to 100 km/h sprint time of just 4.5 seconds. So there is plenty of power to be had here, especially for the EV enthusiasts who like to have the tummy dropping sensation when they accelerate. The Sealion 7 has a blade battery with a large 82.56 kilowatt-hour capacity, and this supports a 456 WLTP driving range. Now that's perfectly fine for the city, but a regional driver will probably want a longer range. BYD throws in a portable charging cable with this model too. This has a Type 2 CCS charging port and accepts up to 11 kilowatts on an AC charger and up to 150 kilowatts on a DC charger. On a 150 kilowatt system, you can go from 10 to 80% in as little as 32 minutes, and that jumps up to over 8 hours on an 11 kilowatt AC charger. All of those figures are really good and certainly help the day-to-day convenience of owning an EV. I haven't found the regenerative braking to be particularly strong, but the official energy consumption figure is fairly low at 20.4 kilowatt-hour per 100 kilometers. And after doing a healthy mix of open road driving and some city stuff mixed in, my average has popped out at 19.1 kilowatt-hour, and I think that's a pretty solid result considering that this is technically a performance grade. The Performance has plenty of power and it is delivered wickedly quick, but you don't really ever feel overpowered by it, in the sense that you still feel like you've got lots of control even when you accelerate quickly. And that's a pretty important thing to consider when you have a vehicle like this with the outputs it has. The steering is responsive and light enough for quick city lane changes. And on a whole, the handling is quite refined. However, there is a little bit more rolling corners than what you would expect. And this is probably the only time where the power can make the handling feel a little bit wobbly. So just take corners with that in the back of your mind. This doesn't really have a one pedal function. And like I mentioned, the regen braking isn't particularly strong. And I did find it hard to creep forward in stop-start traffic where it can feel quite jerky. So I do feel like this is best on the open road. Visibility is mostly good, but the back window is pretty narrow and a digital rear view mirror would have been most welcomed in this model on a whole. The suspension is sports firm, but you're not bothered by the bigger bumps. You're not going to have any trouble really maneuvering this because it has a really clear 360-degree view camera system as well as surrounding parking sensors. So it's very forgiving in a small car park, and you can definitely hit your local Westfield without too much worry. The Sealion 7 has a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating from testing done in 2025 and scored highly across its adult and child protection scores. It also has 9 airbags, including side chest airbags for both rows, but it is common just to see these on the front, so that's a really good one. The flagship grade is well equipped when it comes to standard safety equipment, and some highlights include a blind spot view monitor, which pops a video feed off your left blind spot onto the multimedia screen. It also has front and rear cross traffic alert. There are quite a few sound alerts and chimes in this car, but they almost sound pleasant like a Tamagotchi, so they don't really bother you. But the full safety specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The Sealion 7 is offered with a 6-year or up to 150,000 kilometre warranty, which is pretty good for the class. The battery is covered by a normal term of up to 8 years or 160,000 kilometre warranty. It does come with a 10-year cap price servicing program, but it is a little bit more expensive than its peers at $4,157. And servicing intervals are spaced at every 12 months or 20,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. The BYD Sealion 7 Performance is a well-equipped mid-size electric SUV that offers good ownership costs, motor outputs, and the handling makes for a comfortable ride. Some of the technology needs some work, but there's still lots to like here, and that's why it gets the score that's on your screen now. If you're after more details, check out my full written review at carsguide.com.au. I'll see you next week.